What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, back again with yet another video this week. Okay, so first things first, this week's not going to be a gun review or anything like that, but as you guys can see right here next to me, there is some sort of tools and, you know, cleaning equipment, and that the reason being is we're going to be doing a little bit of pistol maintenance, GBB sort of stuff. Okay, so the reason for this is obviously lately there's been a massive influx in pistols coming into stores and that sort of thing, and they're just not very well maintained. Mainly it comes down to the fact that some people just don't know how to maintain their weapons. Obviously this is not everyone. A lot of airsofters out there do have a lot of real steel habits, in the sense that they will strip their pistols down after every single game, clean them, maintain, re-lube and the whole deal, and pretty much just carry on with life, and that's fantastic. But for those of you guys that don't, I'm going to be giving you guys a basic walkthrough on how to do that. So obviously I'm going to be doing it on a Glock, because that is pretty much the only, well, it's not the only pistol platform that I'm competent on, but it's the pistol platform that I'm most competent on. So that's me personally. And obviously bear in mind that fundamentally all these pistols are different. So whether you're using a 1911, a 2011, a Beretta M9, M&P 22, doesn't really matter. They're fundamentally all pretty much the same. Obviously just the takedowns are different, the parts are ever so slightly different, and that's pretty much it. So let's dive straight in and let's have a look. So Gen 5 Glock 17, which is what I'm going to be taking down here today. So first things first, obviously magazine out, and rack the slide back, pull down on these two tabs right here. So there's a tab on this side and a tab on that side. You want to pull them down simultaneously, and the slide will then slam forward, and you can pretty much take the slide off. So once the slide is off, just go ahead and have a look down into your chassis. So 9 times out of 10 you will have a bit of dust buildup and that sort of stuff in these sort of rails over here, and that is obviously where your slide runs on. So that's one of the areas you want to focus on. The next area that you really want to focus on is your hammer mechanism. So all of this stuff in here, this complicated goodness that you guys are seeing right here. So obviously my guns are pretty damn clean, but it's not exactly the greatest example, but it's cool. We're going to get into it regardless. So first things first, what I would normally do is grab a pistol stand. Okay, so pistol stand grabbed, my apologies. First things first, what I'll normally do is take a little bit of silicone oil. I am going to be using the Ultra Force silicone oil. You don't necessarily have to use this, but any silicone oil, as long as it's non-abrasive and non-corrosive, you're pretty much fine. Just give it 2 or 3 squirts. I normally go 3 just in case, and obviously let gravity do the work there, and you can pretty much set the chassis down. You don't need to worry about that for now. So take the slide apart. So in other words, recoil spring out first. Your barrel will then rock forward, and you can remove the barrel from the chassis. So, okay, these Gen 5s are a little bit tougher than the Gen 4s, but it's cool, they do come out. There we go. Okay, there you go. So your slide is now pretty much disassembled. You don't need to take out the back end here. However, one of the things you want to do is take your toothbrush, preferably not the one that you guys are using currently, you know, just not really conducive to a healthy lifestyle, but take an old toothbrush and just get on inside these rails over here, just to get rid of any sort of dust, sand, whatever else it may be that's building up inside you. So if you are playing on coastal fields, 9 times out of 10 you're going to find a lot of beach sand and that sort of stuff sort of building up in here, because obviously remember, these are moving parts and they are lubricated, which means therefore sand and dust is going to stick to it. So you want to try to get in there nice and clean, just get all of that gunk out, and you pretty much want to continue that the whole way down into all the rails, pretty much everywhere where the slide makes contact with the chassis of the pistol, and you're pretty much good to go. Then you can take a bit of paper towel. You don't necessarily have to use paper towel, and you can use a rag if you guys are into that sort of thing, but I use this because it's a whole lot easier. It's disposable. You're not going to have dirty ass rags lying around. Then just basically get inside there, clean out all the excess that may be left behind, any sort of residue, anything like that. And yeah, as you can see, this one is super clean, but these things get dirty hella quick. Next thing you want to do is take your silicone again, pull your cylinder forward, which will expose that little gap over there, and that means you can get into your cylinder. So obviously this is the Gen 5. The Gen 4s are a little bit easier to get into here, but it's not that big of a difference. It's still pretty much exactly the same. Just give it 2 squirts in there, then just pretty much operate the action, get that silicone to circulate, let gravity do its thing, wipe off the excess from there, and you are pretty much good to go as far as your slide goes. Okay, next thing is your inner barrel. Okay, so remove it from the outer barrel. Now, one thing that you guys are going to want to remember is you don't want to get silicone oil on your hop-up rubber, because obviously this is going to cause an array of different problems like inconsistent shots, inaccuracy, and that sort of thing, because obviously now silicone on your rubber and BBs, it doesn't mix. So what you want to do is take a little bit of paper towel. You don't need a whole lot, because I mean it is a fairly small barrel. Just fold that up a little bit. I know it's not the neatest, but it does the job. Put it through onto your cleaning rod. If you don't have one of these, it's not a big deal. You can get them in gun cleaning kits. I know some of you guys have these really fancy gun cleaning kits. It's not a big deal. Otherwise, just come on, see us here at the store, and we can hook you up with one of these. They're hella cheap. The last time I checked, they're like 60 odd bucks, somewhere there. Obviously local currency, but yeah, very easy to find, not a big deal. So don't put anything on the paper towel. Just basically push it down up until you feel that resistance there. So that is against the hop-up rubber. And then you just want to basically do 2 or 3 passes. You can do as many as you want, but obviously, you know, it's your limits is entirely up to you. And obviously don't push it all the way through the hop-up rubber. So as you can see there, this barrel is still insanely clean. Not a big deal, but nevertheless, insert it back into your outer barrel. Insert your outer barrel back into the slide. Put this little thing back first. You don't want to lose that, because that's going to make your life insanely difficult. And of course, on the Gen 5s, these can only go in one way, but obviously if you're using a Gen 4 and pretty much any other pistol, just obviously check your owner's manual and just see how your recoil rod actually goes back in. But on the Gen 5s, these can only go in one way, and it does have a little locating pin at the bottom there, which is quite a mission to try and get back in, especially when I'm looking at it through a camera. There we go. So there you go, there's your slide back together. Now, before you put the slide back on the gun, what you want to do is go back to the chassis over here. Again, just wipe off all that excess silicone that you guys did spray in here. Again, let gravity help you, and just put a little bit of silicone onto the rails. And you are pretty much good to go. Slide back on. Cool. And then just wipe off the excess, because obviously if you have any excess silicone or anything like that lying around on the outside of the chassis, that is just going to attract dust and sand and pretty much everything else in between, and of course that is just going to gunk up your pistol and cause an array of different problems, to the point where your slide eventually is not going to fit onto your weapon, and you're just going to have basically a unreliable sidearm. So that's pretty much all there is to it. Super quick, like what's that, less than 8 minutes, and we are pretty much good to go. There you go. That's all there is to it, guys. So easy, very self-explanatory, well, not exactly self-explanatory, but very straightforward, very easy to do. It's really not that difficult, but like I said, obviously each pistol is different, so obviously just check out how to take down your pistol depending on what pistol it is that you guys are running, and you can go from there. Principally, or fundamentally should I say, you pretty much are going to be doing the same things regardless. You're going to be cleaning out your inner barrel, lubing up your rails for your slide, and lubing up your hammer mechanism, and obviously keeping silicone oil away from your hop-up rubbers. That is the most important thing. That being said, guys, that's pretty much all there is to it. It's super easy, super simple. It really doesn't take a whole lot of time. It is advisable that you do it as often as you possibly can, because like I said, it is obviously moving parts. You know, every time you pull the trigger, the slide is pretty much doing its thing. These parts are lubricated, which therefore means that sand and dust is going to stick to it regardless. So do your pistol maintenance as often as possible, and your pistol is just going to last you a whole lot longer, and you're going to have a much better time playing airsoft. So guys, that being said, that pretty much brings this video down to a close. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the next video. We'll catch you guys there. So guys, as always, I'm Section. Stay classy, and above all, call your hits, and I'll see you guys in the next video.